Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Bolt City Podcast. Dave Pele, Josh Pele, Mario Heron. It's an exciting night because right now, just a few minutes ago, the Chargers got another win. Chargers win 30-13 on Sunday Night Football against the Chicago Bears. And Mario, I know there was a bet in there months ago that the Chargers would beat the Bears, and I don't even care about the bet. You don't have to pay off. I don't even know what it was, but man, at the same time, I'm so excited. And I'll let you guys talk in a second, but I'm just going to start it off with I have like zero complaints. Like everything was polished and looked
Wow.
good.
It never
And for the
happens.
first time, this team has played up to their capability of what we thought they could do all season long.
You said it right there. What we saw tonight from the Chargers is what we've expected all season. Finally happens. Better late than never, right? We always say that with the Chargers. Let's just get an old-fashioned ass kicking into our system. We've been wanting this for how long? You know, the last time the Chargers did an ass kicking was at the end of last season. We haven't done it all this season. It was great to watch. We were texting each other during the game. We said this is the Kellen Moore offense that we were expecting against the Cowboys. But finally we saw it today. And Mario, I'm just happy like Dave to get a win.
It feels good knowing that we can dominate the bad teams, right? Like, thank the freaking Lord this wasn't a Titans game. This wasn't a Vikings game where they're in the game for no reason. It was a dominant win. It was a message win. It was a win that on the public stage, on the stage where all eyes were on you, there's nothing else to watch tonight. They performed. They picked up extra fans. People fell in love with Herbert. People fell in love with Quentin Johnston. People fell in love with Austin Eckler. It was beautiful. Even Joey Bosa played well today. It was beautiful. It's everything the Chargers needed, I think, for this season. It's everything they needed after the 2 weeks in a row of losing to the Cowboys and the Chiefs. And I sit here, Dave, and I go, was there anything that could have been better? Like, was there anything that could have been better? Because I don't know. I don't know if there's anything that could have been better.
You know, it's funny. First of all, when you say they beat up on a bad team, after watching the Broncos knock off the Chiefs, I'm not so sure you can say that about the NFL, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there are some bad teams, and even the Panthers won a game today, and they're supposed to be, maybe the worst team. You just don't know in the NFL. That's why I think for all of us, we get really upset when teams go through that game where, it sneaks up on you because you didn't give 100% in practice or you underestimated them, and the wins go that way. Now, I'm not making excuses for the Chiefs losing to the Broncos. We all know Mahomes had the flu, and it didn't look like the Chiefs were the Chiefs. So forget that. The Chargers have to play the Bears. We said coming into this game, the Bears had a major win against the Raiders last week where they haven't won a home game in like a year. And all of a sudden they have a different quarterback and they believe in themselves. And all of a sudden they're looking for a win streak where the Chargers have a lot to play for. It almost seemed like, guys, that Kellen Moore and the defense, they did everything that you hear on sports radio or hear on podcasts. Meaning, what have we said, right? What about Quentin Johnston? You got this guy. Aren't you embarrassed you aren't using him? What about Austin Eckler getting passes out of the backfield? What about Joey Bosa? How come he doesn't involved in key sacks? Well, Joey Bosa got one in the first drive of the game for the Bears, right? It almost seemed like, hey, guys, I don't know about you and what your game plan is when we're going to put this thing together tomorrow for our first practice on Wednesday. But I was just listening to Dave, Mario, and Josh driving in, and they made some pretty good points, and then all of a sudden Staley's like, dude, I heard the same thing. He goes, they said we don't use Eckler anymore. Kellen, we used to use Eckler a lot. He goes, maybe we should listen to Dave, Josh, and Mario and kind of start doing what they're saying because, man, they're pretty angry. And it feels like that's the way it goes. Now, look, 100%, I'm not delusional to think that's what they did. But that's what it seemed like they did, right? It almost went like everything we've complained about. And it's not just us. We read the comments from Charger fans that look like finally the coaching staff listened to all your complaints and everything you were upset about and how come this wasn't happening. And they put it all together tonight against the Chicago Bears. And that's why, for the first time, as Josh said, oh my gosh, we had like 30 points where we don't blow teams out. I think Josh said it in the last show. Dude, we don't do that. That's not what we do. Don't expect that. That's not what we do. Well, guess what? That's what we did. And so the Chargers looked fantastic tonight. And so they touched on so many things that you guys just said where I don't have complaints that much except for the turnover at the end. I wish Eckler didn't fumble. That's it. And that's just a stats thing. That's a box score thing. It didn't, basically hurt the game unless you had Eckler for 100 rushing yards. Then you got screwed.
I did have Eckler for 100 rushing yards, so I did get screwed.
Oh.
But it's okay. As long I'll take the win. That's all that I care about. There's a lot of things you hit on there that are really good. I want to start with Quentin Johnston. He's averaging about 2 or 3 targets in every single game he's played this year. Every single game he's had 3, 2, 3, 3, 2, 2 targets. Tonight he has 6, and he catches
Nice.
every target except for one, and he has 50 yards. I mean, the guy was what we expected. And I know we're always expecting a lot out of first-round draft picks. And we've been critical on Quentin Johnston because maybe he's not getting open. Maybe Justin Herbert's just not looking his way. But today, Justin Herbert did look his way. And then when Josh Palmer goes down early, you're thinking, okay, there's actually no other option for Quentin Johnston but to either step up or step down because he is the number 2 receiver now. And Josh Palmer got back into the game, but Quentin Johnston made the most of his opportunities. I loved what I saw from him. Mario made a really good point last week about let's get Quentin Johnston on some intermediate routes to get him to run with the ball after the catch, because one of his big things at TCU was that he was such a good runner after the catch. Today, the Chargers did that. There's a lot of crossing routes. They got him open early, and I love the way Kellen Moore got him involved, Mario.
I love it so much. And like when you run those type of plays, like those screen passes, those crossing routes, like it's less pressure, right? Like it's kind of more pressure to go one-on-one and it's a deep ball downfield. Like that's a lot of pressure. But when you're in your wheelhouse of, I'm going to catch a screen pass and I have 2 blockers in front of me and I get to just get 5, that's a lot better than, taking a one-on-one against Jalen Johnson, which is the only completion that he had. And by the way, probably 4 or 5 receivers, let's be honest, can make that catch. Like Jalen Johnson's a very slept-on corner in this league. And when the Bears are dum-dums and decide to, not pay him, he's going to be a top corner that's going to go to another team and people will realize how good he is. This guy's a stud. So I don't blame him on the incompletion at all. Very, very hard to even come close to catching that ball. I love the way they incorporated him. I hope they stay with that. I hope we see more screen passes with him. I hope we see more crossing routes with him. I also hope after this game, the guy's confident. The guy, he thinks he has the biggest you-know-what in the room. Like, I hope we have that now after this. Like, he's like, I don't care. That rookie shyness is off. Like, Zay Flowers, watch out, buddy. Jordan Addison, kick rocks. Like, I'm about to be better than you. Like, I hope we kind of get that attitude now from him because he has this game where 5 receptions for 50 yards, that's no slouch. And we talked about before the game, like you said, it sounded like Kellen Moore was listening to the Bold City podcast. If he is, please make sure to subscribe on YouTube, my man. We keep gassing you up, so don't subscribe. We'll give you maybe a t-shirt or a high five. But I love what I saw. I was happy with it. And Josh, I'm also happy. Eckler, welcome back to the passing game. Welcome the blank back. I mean, I was sitting next to someone, I could have kissed them on the lips. I was so happy to see a dump down for Eckler and then so happy to even see a screen pass. I mean, shout out to Jake. He almost got one on the mouth.
I want to clean up something I said earlier. I said 100 rushing yards for Eckler. I meant 100 receiving yards. He ended up with 94. Mario, I couldn't agree more about that. You see Austin Eckler open all the time with a dump down. Before this game, Justin Herbert wasn't going to him. Finally, he goes back to the dump downs and gets him to run with the ball after the catch. What I saw out of Austin Eckler today was old-time Austin Eckler out of the backfield catching the ball. The only negative I'm going to take away from this game is going to be that Austin Eckler's rushing ability hasn't been maximized, I'd say. I think today he was averaging 1.9 yards a carry. He hasn't really loosened up in the rushing game. I think the Miami Dolphins game was the only one where he played and he actually looked really good running the ball. Josh Kelly, surprisingly, I think has looked better running the ball in every single game that Austin Eckler has played. I don't know how I feel about that. I am happy that Austin Eckler was involved in the passing game, though. I'm not going to ask for too much. But going forward, I'd like Austin Eckler to be productive on both sides.
So he has to be better as far as running the ball. Look, right now, he isn't the best running back they have as far as a pure runner goes. And you, Josh, you said it last show. You said he's not that guy. What he does, though, is coming out of the backfield and able to catch those balls. The deal is, if that's what he is, then guess what? Defenses are going to focus more on that. If he's not a threat to run the ball, then those plays out of the backfield, he just becomes another person to cover. He has to, at some point, establish that he can be a running back. Otherwise, those plays don't work. So the 1.9 yards a carry aren't going to work. He has to be better. He knows he has to be better. Let's be honest, too, at the same time. As much as we're kind of tongue-in-cheek in it, that the coaches were listening to the podcast driving in, we all know it was Eckler. It was Eckler that said, I don't have a choice when asked about his head coach. That the fact they had a team-only meeting and that guy stepped up and spoke, and so Josh, as a former quarterback, receivers come back to the huddle and say, I was open. We've talked about that on the show, that every receiver always thinks they're open. Well, guess what? Now as a coach, you're hearing and you're on the hot seat. You aren't Belichick. You aren't Tomlin, one of these guys that have a little bit of security. You're hearing one of your star players is telling the media, I don't like the coach, which means he's going to ownership, might as well be the same, because they're hearing it and reading it too, that, hey, one of our star players doesn't like the coach. Why wouldn't he like the coach? Guess what? Today was all about making Eckler happy. That's the way it was. That's why it changed. And guess what? It equaled a win. So Eckler wasn't wrong. Okay. Eckler wasn't wrong. It equaled a win. And so through all that, it was fantastic. For the fans, it was fantastic. For Justin Herbert, it was fantastic. For Kellen Moore, it was fantastic. The only people it wasn't great for, the Chicago Bears and NBC, because, man, that was not a game that people stayed around for to watch all the commercials on NBC. It was not a great Sunday night football game. Well, F those guys. We don't care. We just care about the scoreboard. And it went in our favor. So suck it.
Real quick, I'd argue Bears fans loved it.
You
I'd
think
argue.
so?
As one of myself, I like the losses should not hurt you that bad, because you're gonna put a picture of Caleb Williams above your bed and you're gonna kiss it every night, because that's what's coming next year. And Marvin Harrison Jr. So don't just move on to next year. Focus on Connor Bernard playing for the Blackhawks.
So, Mario, let me ask you a question. From everything you saw today, what was the biggest positive? What made you smile the most? You're thinking, oh, my God, next week we can look forward to this again.
It was definitely that at 8:55 in the second quarter, that's when Justin Herbert threw his first incompletion. That, to me, was gorgeous. That was, by far, I think the most important thing that came out tonight was the performance that we saw of Herbert. And it was great to see on social media of a lot of Bears reporters go, this is what happens when you play a real QB. It feels very good to see that said about your guy, about your team, because it shows, okay, this is the caliber player that we have. This is the next level player that we have. And it was good to see him kind of get his confidence back and go, yes, this is a regression year up yours. This is not a regression year. I'm here to stay. People think I'm an MVP level guy. Let me show you it. I think we got that tonight, and I'm happy to see it. And I want it carried on through the rest of the year. I want him carried on against the Lions. I want to carry on against the Ravens, the Bills. But that to me was huge, especially without Mike Williams, especially without Jared Everett. I think that was really big. I loved that. And there were easy throws. They weren't difficult throws. They were easy reads. But that to me stood out to me right away. Dave, for you, what was the one where you put a little smile on your face, and you put a little extra dip in?
Okay, here you go. Well, this is I gotta tell you, at the beginning of the game, I was upset. And I'll tell you why I was upset. Okay.
I love you.
Okay. And I was upset because it doesn't take a genius to figure out this guy has a broken finger. Okay. Look at that goddamn finger in his hand, right? I mean, look at that. It's like that scene in No Country for Old Men where he breaks his arm and those kids keep saying, dude, you got a bone sticking out of your arm. Dude, you see his left hand? So why would he have the first play of the game be under center? And he fumbled. Why? Okay, so I'll ask you guys. I mean, I know that seems like, years ago, but that was about 3.5 hours ago. The very first play, he's under center with a jacked up finger. Why would you do that? Any answers?
You wouldn't do that. No, you wouldn't do that. I don't know why.
Right away, I literally stood up and kicked the couch and go, we are the dumbest people on the planet. What are we doing here? This is ridiculous. And they didn't do it again. Because someone was like, whose idea was that? Who goofed? Because the first 15 plays are all scripted. How did someone not catch that? It was the dumbest thing of all time.
Even the dumbest thing of all time.
Why would you take a chance of re-injuring it? It was so frustrating to watch. And I'm glad they cleaned it up. And they did. They cleaned it up right away. But I remembered. Guess what? You know what else also hurt me a little bit, Mario? As a guy that takes pride in my head that I was once a pretty good athlete, that when Joshua Palmer got hurt and he hopped off the field straight to the tent, I think was faster than I could do in a dead sprint. I was like, this guy on one leg going to the tent is flying. And I'm like, I don't think I could beat this guy in a race. And I used to think I was fast. That was a little depressing. Not going to lie. When she did the report, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the sideline reporter, But when she did the report that he went straight into that tent, meaning Joshua Palmer, and then he let out a giant scream and then came out and played, I'm like, dude, I don't know what goes on in the tent, and I don't care what goes on in the tent. He's back on the field. But that's always a little crazy to me, where here's a guy that literally went off the field on one leg, screamed his head off, and then all of a sudden comes back on the field in the dead sprint, ready to go. Let's hike the ball. You're like, hey, we're all going to look the other way. But that's one of those where you're like, whatever, just get him healthy, get him in a uniform, and get him ready to go. But yeah, I was, as far as what was said about the very first play of the game on the offensive side for the Chargers, I could not believe that Justin Herbert was under center. I didn't understand.
The thing that was most frustrating about that was it didn't require him to be under center. If this was a quarterback sneak, you're going to think, okay, he needs to be under center, right? But that was the first play of the game. Like, why is he under center? The tent to me is the biggest mystery box thing in all of football. Like, nobody knows what's going on in that tent. I remember when I was at Alabama, guys would go into that tent and look like they're never going to play again, and they pop back out like nothing happened. I'm like, dude, what the hell goes on in that tent? I want to think like there's a Mr. Miyagi in there ready to just fix you. But I think when you said you're upset about the first play of the game, I thought you were talking about the 41-yard catch to Darnell Mooney, because that was what made me upset. I texted you guys, if Brandon Staley gets lit up by this rookie quarterback, I will move this stuff out of his house myself. I will go over and I'll do it myself, because this is ridiculous. And Mario said, if you lose to him, you should never call plays again, ever, like in your whole career. And I couldn't agree more. Thankfully, the Chargers created 4 turnovers, and they looked really good. But Mario, my biggest thing that made me smile overall, and I don't think anybody saw this one coming, was Donald Parham. I mean, the guy is the best on the team with Keenan Allen. I think he's the best on the team at extending his arms. 6'8" guy, so obviously he has long arms. He is really good at extending his arms and keeping the ball in his grasp. I mean, he is really good at that. They showed on the screen that he's had 52 catches in his career, 11 touchdowns. That's just amazing. I was a big fan of Donald Parham stepping up with Gerald Everett out.
Yeah, that was always nice to see, and I picked him up last second on the fantasy team, so shout out to him. Love to see that. The Tyson Bagent first throw of the game. First off, Mooney was not down. Mooney was 100%. He was not down. He very much so could have scored very easily on that play. When that happened, I literally thought, are we really going to get in a shootout with Tyson Bagent? Is that really what's going to happen? Then we're going to see multiple, and I mean multiple shots of his dad that just looks way too jacked. And we're going to get arm wrestling clips all night long, which, like, congrats, you win an arm wrestle. What do you peak in 3rd grade? But that's a conversation for a different day. Like, come on. Really, let's not brag about that. It's like, yeah, I'm really good at cornhole. Congrats. You know, what are you going to do? But no, it's Parham stepped up great. I think everyone stepped up great and played a great game. The pass rush got home onto him a lot. I thought we'd get more of a Mac game, but I think it was just more a collective group. Like, they really got to Bagent. On one of Bagent's interceptions where he threw it where Moore and Mooney kind of both were, that was completely one. He had no idea what the defense was going to do, who was coming and who was not coming. He didn't really make an adjustment, and he was just tweaking. His feet weren't set. You could tell right away as soon as he threw it, it's going to be high. He's going to overthrow someone. So I really liked how we kind of got home to him. We rattled his cage, which, thank the freaking Lord, that's all you need to do against a inexperienced backup rookie QB. It was a great thing to see. Leaving this game, more confidence in the Bolts. Like, I we were at probably a 10 before the year. Are we at least 2 and 8 right now? Like, are we at an 8 level where it's like, come on, you know, let's get to it. Follow me into battle.
Yes, for me, yes. And I feel like a sucker for saying that. It took 3 hours for me to go from a 3 to an 8. How's that? But I'm looking at the schedule, and the schedule benefits the Chargers. And so, you know, when I look at it and say, okay, where does this team need to be to get back to 500? At what point of the schedule will that be? I was telling you before, I thought it was going to be about December, maybe December 3rd, when they take on the Patriots. So for people who aren't aware, they take on the Jets next week in New York. Okay. It's again, I think it's a Monday night game, and then they have the Lions at home. That's a tough game, or it should be a tough game. Ravens, but then you have the Patriots, Raiders, Broncos, then Raiders. So the schedule, it should give them time to rebound. I also hope that they steal a game from one of these so-called premier teams. I'm curious to know what the Lions look like tomorrow night when they take on the Raiders on Monday Night Football because the Raiders completely embarrassed themselves last week. Yet we've seen people who stepped up this week in the NFL that you didn't expect. That you know, Carolina pulls off a win, Denver pulls off a win, Tennessee pulls off a win. A Bengals, you know, you just don't expect to see, you know, certain teams you go, that's an automatic. And guess what? There are no automatics. So I hope the Chargers, again, we haven't touched really on the defense a lot tonight. And you know, when you hold a team, basically, look, I understand they got 13, but that was a garbage score at the end. The defense did a fantastic job. They did a fantastic job. And yeah, it wasn't, you know, Khalil Mack and it wasn't as far as what we thought was going to be the superstar game, but collectively did very well. Murray did very well. You know, I mean, there are guys who did very well. We weren't pointing the finger tonight. As a team, they played very good defense. I understand it's the Chicago Bears. It's still the NFL. Guess what? This team needed this. These fans, we needed this. The coaches, they needed this. Everybody needed what happened tonight. The medicine was exactly at the right time.
Defense stepped up, and you said Joey Bosa got that big sack. That was the only sack the Chargers got all game. It was unbelievable that the Chargers created that much pressure, only hit Bajet twice and had one sack. That means the secondary did a great job, and they did. I mentioned earlier they had 4 turnovers. The Chargers defense was really fun to watch. They're going to need all of that next week against Zach Wilson, who will turn the ball over. If you get pressure on Zach Wilson, he's going to turn the ball over. We need our secondary to step up. I don't know, Mario, if you noticed this at the beginning of the game, and I know PFF is crap to a lot of people, so I don't know how much I look into it, but they'll list how good a player is for his position to all the other players in the league. Did you notice how low all the Chargers players in the secondary were besides Asante Samuel Jr., I think? Derwin James was ranked 60th out of 72 for his position. And I was like, whoa, what is this accurate? Like, do we have like the worst secondary ever? And you know, they really do because they give up a lot of passing yards. Tonight, they were good, though. Tyson Bagent had 232 yards. Defense stepped up in a big way. Mario, you're saying, what can we take from this game as a positive going into next week? I can take that as a positive, that the defense is going to create some turnovers because, like I just said, Zach Wilson's going to turn the ball over. Felt like we actually played good, not that we played down to the competition, because sometimes you win games and you're thinking, wow, both teams didn't look very good, but they won. Kind of like the Jets and the Giants today. Like both teams, somebody had to win that game. Cowboys, Chargers. Cowboys won that game, but I don't think the Cowboys look good. You know what I mean? Today, I actually thought the Chargers played good against a bad team. Something that's going to be talked about ad nauseum because we're playing a New York team is that the Giants had -9 passing yards today. That is unbelievable. -9 passing yards in an NFL game going against Justin Herbert, who is a passing machine. I'm just curious to see how a really strong defense goes against a really strong quarterback.
Did you guys watch that game? I know Mario about to say something, but did you guys watch that game?
No.
Like, I watched that game.
Yeah.
Jets and
15
Giants.
punts in the first half. 15 punts.
It was literally
happen?
the worst game, I think, in the history of football I've ever watched, except for the end, which made it worth watching. It was like the worst 3 hours of your life. It was terrible. It was god awful. The best part was the Jets fans walking out of the stadium, and then they had to hear the cheering as they're almost to their cars.
Yeah,
you know. But I mean, Jets fans like literally were ready to burn their jerseys. It was nuts, man. I don't know.
So I was watching because shout out Sean Marash. He was a Giants fan that celebrated way too quick, and that really came back and bit him. So I loved that right away. So shout out to Sean Marash. The defense played amazing. I think they took away what the Bears really needed to do, and the Bears really needed to run the ball today because that was their big success against the Raiders, right? Like they dominated them on the run game, and that's why a lot of ways that Bajan was able to be successful last weekend was there's not a lot of pressure for him to throw the ball, and they put pressure on him to throw the ball. Foreman went 9 carries for 34 yards. It's a 3.8 average. Johnson went for 6 carries for 21 yards, 3.5 average. Like the run game was non-existent. DJ Moore was held to 55 receiving yards. They played so well that Cole Kmet was their leading receiver. Let me tell you something. Cole Kmet should never be the leading receiver. So that's a good freaking thing. If that guy's a leading receiver, guess what? You're going to get picks for the next 4 years, not just this year. So they did a great job on that. One thing I want to mention, too, about the Chargers offense before we stay on the defense is in the third quarter, after their first drive, the Chargers scored on every drive of the game to start the game. That's gorgeous. That is music to my ears. That is poetry. Gave me little deja vu, little nightmare on Elm Street. Shout out to Halloween, even though Halloween sucks. to the Jaguars game. That's what it did. That was like, okay, I don't need to hear that. If someone says that one more time, I'm going to get really, really scared. So, but shout out to them on that. I'm interested to see what the Jets can do to us next week and see what happens to in that game. That being said, I think from Tyrod Taylor to the nobody QB to Justin Herbert might be a little bit of a big jump for the Jets, wouldn't you say?
Oh, it's going to be a big jump for the Jets. I mean, I am looking forward that, again, it's another primetime game. Speaking of, guys who, we always talk about primetime games and usually don't step up. Kirk Cousins lost for the year, with the Achilles tendon. That was crazy to watch again. And the reason I bring that up is there's been so much talk about injuries happen on turf fields. When Kirk Cousins got hurt today, Mario, where was that game at?
That was in Lambeau Disgusting Field.
Yeah, it was on the grass though, right? But I'm watching the Charger game, and I'm going, I'm not going to lie because I came off as maybe a jerk. A lot of people thought on my argument why turf is fine. I'm watching the Charger game today, and I'm going, did Eckler just blow his knee out? Did Allen, like, there are like 4 plays tonight, even there are 2 on the Bears and 2 on the Chargers, where I was concerned the way they went down. Like, dude, just get up. I was kind of concerned that a major injury happened. That's the one thing this team can't afford. They can't afford another Mike Williams type injury, not to a star player, or not to an offensive lineman either. And it's another thing I wanted to touch on as far as that offensive line, because we killed those guys. But overall, you look at this Charger team, and yeah, Mario, I think next week on Monday night, they're facing a Jets team that's not great. Yeah, their defense is one of the better defenses in the NFL. It's supposed to be. But their offense is absolutely terrible. If the defense tonight for the Chargers can play like they did against the Jets next week, I completely believe the Chargers win this game. And I think that was one of those games at the beginning of the year that we picked, saying, man, it's a long flight to New York. And we're all thinking it's Aaron Rodgers, that the Chargers probably lose that game. As of right now on Sunday, I think the Chargers win that game and will be favored in that game. Do you have a line on that game by any chance?
I was just looking at it. I keep refreshing. I can't get it yet. They don't have it up.
So the Chargers should be favored in this game. They said that in the broadcast at the beginning. The Chargers have so many talented players, they just cannot put it together. And that's what we've been saying for the last whatever amount of time I've been doing this show. The Chargers have all these players, but we can't put a full game together. Today we put a full game together, and it was good to watch. I want to bring up the YouTube question of the day, because I think it was a really good one. It came from Upper Crust the Third. I don't know what that means.
That's on his birth certificate?
Yeah, I think it is. Upper Crust the Third. He said, all right, it's a kind of a long one, but stay with me here. Let me say this. I'm 30 years old. I've been closely following the Chargers since the 2001 season. A point I never see brought up is the production Mike Williams had in his first season. He had 11 catches. We all remember Buster Davis. It's not over for us. It's as troubling as it is. I wanted to point this out. The win now mindset with the closing window of opportunity, you should be feeling dread. Okay, so here's my thing. Bringing up Mike Williams' rookie season is not the same as bringing up Quentin Johnston's rookie season, because if you remember Mike Williams' rookie season, his first game was week 6 because he had a back injury. Quentin Johnston has played in every single game this year. We cannot say that what happened with Mike Williams not being able to play, even in training camp, he had a herniated disc. He couldn't participate. You can't say that Quentin Johnston's in the same situation. Why are we having a situation with Mike Williams had where he wasn't very productive and say that's the standard? No, that is not the standard. The standard is the other guys that were drafted in your draft class that are playing right now in the same era, same, football that you're playing. Everybody's the same, spread open offenses. I know the offenses weren't that crazy back then either, but now you have Jordan Addison that goes off, JSN goes off, Zay Flowers does well, and then we look at Quentin Johnston. It's not unfair to look at Quentin Johnston and say you should be doing this too. If Quentin Johnston, Mario, can have 5 catches for 50 yards every game, that's a great season. I don't think he's going to do that every game, but that should be the standard. We said it earlier in the season. 5 catches should be the standard for a first-round rookie receiver.
Absolutely. And I mean, if they get him involved in this offense too, like they did today, it shouldn't be a problem. Couple screen passes, get open when you want one-on-one matchups. I don't think that's going to be an issue at all for him. I also do think it's fair to compare him to other receivers. I think that's completely fair to do. And I'll always say this, be very careful with comparing rookie years. Just be careful, because people do that all the time. Chase Claypool had a great rookie year. He's been traded 2 times. Yeah. Peyton Manning this is the best one. Peyton Manning had a terrible rookie year. Josh Allen had a terrible rookie year. So, just be careful you compare rookie years.
Aikman
Troy
didn't win a
Aikman.
game his rookie year. The one
Yeah.
game the Cowboys won, he didn't play that game. He didn't win one game his rookie year, yet he's in the Hall of Fame and has 3 Super Bowl rings.
Exactly. So just be careful what you wish for, I think, when you go into that. But no, I think it's a very fair assessment, especially with the way the Chargers look right now. And also, like, Dave, Palmer got a little hurt today. Like, he already had a hurt knee.
He was hurt going in.
Exactly. And he probably hurt a little bit more today. So when you say, like, it's pretty fair to expect more of Quentin in the next couple of weeks?
I hope so. I mean, honestly, I do. I mean, when you break it down that way, 5 receptions, some people go, well, that's a lot. You guys are right now are overboard. Dude, I'm asking you to catch basically 1 ball a quarter. That's it. Just 1 ball a quarter. It's catch 1. You got to throw the ball to him. I understand that. That comes with a quarterback who Justin Herbert now is a veteran quarterback that has to have faith in his guys. But at the same time, Justin Herbert, I don't think is that jerk like Aaron Rodgers is, who will sit there and say, I'm going to teach you a lesson. He's not that guy. He understands that, hey, Keenan Allen over here, he's sitting on a rocking chair, when the defense is on the field, the days are numbered. Mike Williams, when he comes back, there's no guarantee when Mike Williams comes back that Mike Williams isn't going to get hurt again, because he gets hurt. You got to develop him, and you have to have faith in him and show him that, hey, you're part of this team. The fact that the Chargers basically used Quentin Johnston tonight, it's now parts where the Jets have seen him on film, and the Jets have to prepare for him. The Jets are going to have to take time of their practice schedule to get ready for the Chargers, to get ready for Quentin Johnston. He's now on film, as they say. And for the Chargers, great. That's just another weapon. Guess what? Joshua Kelly now is considered a weapon. When he's in the game, he's a guy that can run the ball. Austin Eckler is a guy that can run the ball and he can catch the ball. You got to prepare for that. And of course, Parham, as Josh just said, well, what happens when Gerald Everett comes back? Do you see a double tight end set at times? Do you throw them different looks? What happens? Because as Parham has 4 touchdown receptions this year, he barely plays. So there are weapons that if you're the Jets, you have to prepare for everything the Chargers do.
Prepare for everything the Chargers do. And you just made 2 great points there with Joshua Kelly and Donald Parham. Those are 2 backups that have made the most of their opportunities when they're in the game. Joshua Kelly, interesting though, he's only really effective when he's behind Austin Eckler. When he's the main back, it's not the same. Well, Austin Eckler's back, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. If we could have 2 viable running backs and 2 tight ends, it's a whole nother thing for the Chargers, because we've always talked about the Chargers don't have a great backup tight end. Joshua Kelly's done a good job. And Donald Parham, like you said, is a touchdown machine. I would love for the Chargers to run some double tight end sets. The Chargers haven't really ever had that I can remember. And Trey McKitty got another hold today. It was the greatest thing in the world. I laugh every time. Trey McKitty's hold percentage on the plays he's in the game has to be the highest in the NFL. It is unbelievable how many holds he gets. It's crazy. Justin Herbert, They actually showed on the screen today, has 12 more batted down passes since he started playing than any other quarterback in the league, which is insane. He's one of the tallest quarterbacks. He might be the tallest starting quarterback in the NFL.
Hold on. Don't skip over this, okay? Because a lot of people jump me for this one. I'm going to defend myself on this. At the end of the first half, he had another ball batted down. Guess what? It wasn't batted down. He just threw it right off the guy's helmet. What the hell, dude? What the hell? If you're 6'6" and you raise your arm up, guess what? Your arm should be 7'6", but he isn't. He lowers his arm. He threw it right off that guy's helmet. He's lucky it wasn't intercepted. It could have completely changed the tone of way that first half went. But I
just don't understand it.
Going, I don't either. It's crazy, man.
He also, if you want to go negative, he also had a couple that could have been intercepted tonight.
Oh, that linebacker on the Bears, the guy that just got called back into the starting lineup. Dude, how do you drop? I watch these games and I'm the guy on the couch that's like, dude, what are you doing? But seriously, like, how do you drop that?
Yeah.
Or I forgot, like, he was looking the whole time. Like,
that one was
the
bad.
most Bears thing.
Yeah.
The most busted coverage, and he falls on his own feet, and he still had the opportunity to catch it on the ground. That was horrible, man. We totally caught a break on that.
Yeah, that's like when the JV wideout gets in the varsity game and he gets open and he's trying to run so fast he trips over himself and then he's like, oh no, like that. It reminded me of the movie Little Giants. Like I was like, that's like something that would happen in that movie.
That was you're right. Crazy. That was we completely lucked out on that one. I mean, the guy's laying on his back, hits him still straight in the stomach, and he can't catch the ball.
Yeah, I want to talk about something positive that we gloss over way too much on the show. The Chargers might have the best special teams in the NFL. Between J.K. Scott's crazy hang time on his punts, Cameron Dicker's automatic, and Darius Davis is a complete threat. the Chargers are right there, I think, is the best special team in the NFL. Would you agree, Mario?
Yeah, definitely up there. I mean, Dicker the kicker is just old reliable, and I love tonight how he said Dicker the kicker. I love that. Keep that same energy up all the time. I'll have fun with that when we're ever on Thursday Night Football again. I don't know if we are, but who cares? Yeah. I mean, they're always reliable. Davis, we saw it kind of in the preseason that he'd be a pretty good threat, and it's just he's so fun. He is so fun, and also to your point, did you guys see this too? Shout out the Bears for trying something stupid, where they had a gunner line up with the punter, and they're like, "Watch out for him." You know, something new the Bears did. Buddy got laid out within 10 yards. Didn't even come close to making a play. That cracked me up. That was another one. Where it's like Bears be Bears. Like that. That was hilarious.
Oh my gosh, that is funny. It feels good to win, right? I don't want to jinx
Yeah.
Cameron Dicker because he's been as good as what you guys have said. I think honestly, kicking at MetLife Stadium, I think is one of the hardest things to do. So I'm nervous about it because you always hear about the different crosswinds and everything happens. It is interesting as we do the show tonight. It just happens to be all three of us, all over the place as far as the country goes. Josh is in New Orleans. You have Mario in Chicago. I'm in Southern California and San Diego right now. And for me, guys, it was warm today. I mean, it's it's in the 80s, but you're looking at everyone else around the country. In Denver, they had 11 inches of snow. They had to clear off the field. And you're seeing, all of a sudden the coaches are dressed different. People are getting cold. So, that game next week could be, the weather could be a mess. And so I hope if they need Cameron Dicker that he continues to play the way he's been playing, because as you guys said, the special teams is underrated. We rip a lot of things in this Charger organization. The special teams has done a great job. And J.K. Scott has been really good for the last 2 years. But I understand you don't talk about punting, but at the same time, what do you hear head coaches talk about all the time? Field position is everything. And our special teams allows field position to put the Chargers in the best situation possible.
Yeah, flipping the field is so underrated. People don't talk about it enough. J.K. Scott was amazing. He kicked one ball, I think, 62 yards today, which is unbelievable, man. Just the fact that people can punt a ball that far blows my mind. I want to bring up the division, Mario, because something big happened today. The Chiefs lose to the Broncos, and the Broncos now have a winning streak. Do you think that is more on the Broncos or more on the Chiefs?
That's more on the weird, wacky divisional game that just somehow bounces your way. Like, I think that's just like what this kind of came down to, right? And they had so many things that went in their favor today. One, you mentioned the weather, Dave.
Yeah.
Very cold today in Denver. Also, very hard to play at Mile High anyways. So, two things that go in their favor. Then Mahomes gets the flu. That really goes in your favor as well. You don't have 100% Mahomes.
Taylor Swift doesn't show up.
Yeah, I didn't want to include that, but I guess I just set you up for it. So yeah, I guess there's bad blood between her and Kelsey.
Nice.
Yeah,
there you go.
I guess they're not Romeo and Juliet after all.
you know what though? As much as kind of tongue in cheek in it, did you see the stats? How his numbers are 3 times better when she's at the games than when she's not at the games.
Yeah.
That
reminded me, by the way, of a quick story of one of my best friends in high school. The girl that he had a huge crush on was trying to date came to our basketball game, airballed his first 3 right in front of her. He went 0 for 8 that day. So shout out to Joel. So that's very familiar stat line.
Saddest thing I ever heard.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. And guess what? Didn't date her. So
yeah.
How about this? If we're gonna bring up the conversation, what's the hardest sport to impress a girl when they show up to your game? It has to be baseball. Being a hitter, right?
Baseball.
It's baseball because you're so stressed on hitting that ball. You're not going to do well. Football, I feel like it's all aggression. Like, I'm just going to try harder. It could help out. Basketball, just get in the paint. But baseball, it doesn't help at all. I've screwed up so many times when people watch me play baseball.
And basketball is too quick where you can't think about it. Like, it's too quick. Baseball, you have so much time to think.
and she's right next to you on the on-deck circle. You're like, you can see her. You're like, damn it. She's right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I saw a crazy stat that I want to bring up. Patrick Mahomes on the year has 15 passing touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Russell Wilson has 16 passing touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Would you have ever guessed that?
No.
That statistically, Russell Wilson is doing a little bit better in touchdowns and interceptions? No, right? He has played pretty damn good on a bad team. And I think people aren't even talking about it. It's pretty remarkable.
Also, do you guys notice that they were like trying to do too much with Sky Moore, and like Sky Moore, I don't know, sucks.
I don't know why you'd game plan for him.
Yeah.
That is funny,
Yeah.
man. That's a funny.
That was an ugly game.
Going that direction. There are a
That was
lot of
weird.
ugly games today. There are a lot of ugly games. It's funny, Josh. It was obviously you spent a good portion of your day watching these games, and I was thinking Josh isn't going to watch these games because he's in New Orleans. But at the same time, I'm like, this is a good day not to watch the NFL, and I never say that. Like I like usually, I'm watching the NFL for 9 straight hours, and I'm going, man, this was a great day. Today was a bad day for the NFL in general. I mean, for the Chargers, yeah, they win, but if you're just a football fan and you watched even the last game, the Sunday night game, you're going, man, there wasn't really a contest there. I mean, there were a lot of boring games today, which is, unlike the NFL, very, very, very strange the way it went all the way around. But, what surprised me most about it, and I know we're gonna break down more about what the standings look like, is that teams have separated themselves in the division already, where you can kind of tell who's going to win each division and figure it out that the way it's going. So we've kind of a lot of things are where we thought they were going to be. The trade deadline is going to pass basically by the time we do our next show. So it'll be interesting to see if there are any more, big name guys, so-called, moved or what happens. Usually in the NFL, you don't see a lot of trades. It's not like baseball or basketball where all of a sudden just a flurry of trades. But what I thought was interesting is we goofed on this guy like crazy from the draft all the way till Thursday, and that was Will Levis. And Will Levis goes with his 4 touchdowns, and all of a sudden DeAndre Hopkins looks like the old DeAndre Hopkins, and it was unusual to see a guy break into the league when you talk about quarterback play, Josh, and you going, man, that guy made the most of his opportunity. I mean, if you're Malik Willis, you're like, dude, I got to put my house on the market. I'm definitely gone now.
Yeah, he's definitely gone. We'll give credit where credit's due. Will Levis looked really good. Did not see that coming. I picked up the Atlanta defense in fantasy. I said it last show because I thought he was going to suck. Yeah. He looked good. Those uniforms were on par with the Chargers tonight as the 2 best uniforms today. Those were sweet. I love the Oilers throwback uniforms. But yeah, credit where credit's due. And he figured it out. Throw the ball to DeAndre Hopkins. It's going to work almost every time. It's not rocket science. Throw it to him. I think a bigger story than Will Levis maybe being the franchise quarterback for the Titans is Brock Purdy might not be the franchise quarterback for the 49ers. That's 3 losses in a row for the 49ers.
Crazy.
Crazy, dude. Because a few weeks ago, we were saying this team might go undefeated. Dude, They're in second place in the NFC West behind the Seahawks. Did not see this coming. What's crazier to you, Mario? Will Levis or Brock Purdy?
The Will Levis thing, there's a guy that I work with that I am in studio with a lot that has been preaching in my freaking ear since March of last year that Will Levis is going to be the best QB out of that draft class. And
wow.
I'm going to give him not all of his flowers, but I'm going to give him like one little flower because I'm like, hey, it's one game against the Falcons. We'll see, pal. But I will give this. He played really well today. He looked fantastic. 4 touchdowns. Shout out to him. Mike did a great job. My surprise is here come the freaking, you didn't say it, Bengals. Bengals are back. The Bengals.
I think I said it on Thursday. I think I literally told you on Thursday. This is what they did last year. Look at the notes.
Oh, you did.
You
did.
did.
Yeah, you did.
And I picked the Bengals, right, to play well against the Niners.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
But that was my biggest thing is that they're back. The Purdy thing, I think, might just be a tough one. I think Shanahan's going to rip a new one. But, like, the Bengals, I mean, here we go.
Okay, so Deebo Samuel's out. Josh, how much does that affect what the Niners do?
A lot.
Is that a difference?
A lot.
I mean, why can't the 49ers defense play anymore? What's going on?
Yeah, that's
Did you
the
say
thing, right? The
more
49ers
Trent
defense
Williams?
looks good.
What?
Trent Williams is definitely the bigger factor. Trent Williams is the bigger factor on that team. But Mario, the thing with that is, and I know Trent Williams is out of this world great. You have George. Hold on, let's go through this, right? You got George Kittle still out there. You got Christian McCaffrey. You got Elijah Mitchell. You got Brandon Ayuk. You got enough to get it done. Brock Purdy does not look good. Like, flat out does not look good. And the Bengals, dude, like you said, I think are back. Joe Burrow was unreal today. 28 for 32. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. I mean, if Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow again, I mean, dude, good luck to everybody in the AFC. I'm gonna love to see the Ravens and Bengals go down the stretch though, because that is gonna be unbelievable. The AFC North to me is the most interesting division because you have 4 teams that I really don't know how good they are including the Ravens, even though they looked great against the Lions last week. The Steelers getting screwed over today by the referees, and I never say this about other teams, but the Steelers getting completely screwed over by the referees was insane, man. I've never seen anything like it where they're blatantly missing calls. Did you guys see that game at all?
Yeah, I watched the whole game. That's what that game and the Browns. If you're a Browns fan, I mean, the last 2 weeks, you're like, what the hell just happened? We got screwed out of 2 wins. It's crazy. Yeah, no, the refereeing is atrocious. I don't
The
get
worst
how
this
you
year ever,
Yeah.
right?
It is. It's really bad. And I say this all the time. I don't understand how you have these, high profile athletes who are the best on the planet playing in the NFL being basically judged by guys who are 67 years old trying to keep up with these guys, and they aren't full-time referees. These guys are bankers and doctors and lawyers during the week, and then they show up on Sunday and Monday and Thursday to referee these games, and then we expect them to do a great job. It's ridiculous that they aren't just full-time refs where you get 2 days off and you're spending the other time in the other team's practice facilities working on your skills.
100%. I think the NFL, and this isn't even a joke, I think the NFL should bring in that sports science guy to show the referees this is how impossible it is for a guy to be running full speed and to stop on a dime and not touch a quarterback, because these roughing the passer penalties are ruining the game of football. Today, watching those penalties, and it happens every week, you're thinking, oh my God, this is a $1 billion industry that they can't get this thing right. You are literally screwing up these games, at least one game a week, on bad roughing the passer penalties. They got to clean it up, Mario. And that's just one of them. The Bears today, like you said, got completely screwed out of a touchdown. And I know Derwin James grabs him and throws him out of bounds, but if he would have kept running, he could have scored. Like, who's blowing that down? And they even asked the referee in the booth, what did you see here? And he's like, dude, I don't know. Like, I don't know who blew the whistle. I mean, they really got to fix this.
They even had Cole Kmet, like, he caught a pass, Nick wrapped him up, and he took like 2 steps back, and they blew the whistle, and then he broke free. Like, he literally broke free out of it. And I'm like, dude, he could, like, he wasn't going to score a touchdown. He was going to get the first down. And I was like, yeah, like, I would have punched a hole in the wall if I had gambled on that. One thing I am going to gamble on, and let me know if you guys are interested, because I am literally probably going to call my accountant. Well, I don't have an accountant, but you know what I mean. I'm going to call my bank, and I'm going to say, listen, take the savings, empty it out. Because the Cincinnati Bengals are plus 325 right now to win the AFC North, and I am, like, obsessed with it.
Dude, you picked the Bengals at the beginning of the year to go to the Super Bowl, but you jumped off the bandwagon so fast.
I didn't jump off anything.
Sure,
I said it looked tough.
3 weeks in, you're like, forget the Bengals. I'm like, dude, relax. Joe Burrow has a calf injury. Just calm down.
Listen, I'm just saying I'm betting on the Ravens to fall apart and the Bengals to come up, and I will take that.
All right. By the way, cool moment that I thought was cool, at least, was Joe Burrow in San Francisco today, because who's the one player Joe Burrow is always compared to? Joe Montana. Okay, he's Joe Montana coming out of LSU. Joe Montana. Joe Montana was there today. Yeah, always. And so the fact that he played his ass
demeanor,
off
right?
Against, his demeanor, that not the strongest arm, that he's always cool. He gets the job done. He finds the open guys, makes great reads. He wins games. And then the fact that he went to San Francisco, played in front of Joe Montana today, and had just a great game. I thought that was cool. And again, I'm not a Bengals fan. I'm not a Niners fan, but I thought that was pretty cool that the guy you've been compared to for 4 years, you got a chance to play right in front of him, and he got to look. I'm curious to know what Joe Montana thought, just to go, hey, that looked like me when I used to play, or hey, that guy's better than me. Anything. I'm kind of curious to know what Joe Montana's thoughts were watching that game today.
Yeah, hey Josh,
I mean, football is better when
audience.
Oh, dude, I got a boomer thing for you. Did I have the answer when Josh brought it up, or when you guys brought it up? When's the last time the Chargers ran a double tight end set? I'm like, Kellen Winslow and Pete Houlihan. Like in 1984, like I remember watching when you throw number 80 and 81 on the field at the same time, and dude, nobody remembers that crap. That's crazy funny. Stupid. Yeah,
I got my 2 takeaways, Mario, for around the league, not just the Chargers, is going to be the penalties have been out of control bad from the referees, and I've never seen so many starting quarterbacks hurt at the same time. I mean, they put on the screen today 5 more guys leave the game today. You got Joe Burrow with the calf injury, Justin Herbert with the broken finger. I mean, all over the league, there's quarterbacks that are banged up. it's interesting, man. They're trying to keep these guys healthy by keeping these roughing passer the penalties flowing, but it hasn't helped. I mean, quarterbacks are getting hurt at a crazy rate.
It's the year of the defense, right? Like unders are hitting all across the board. If you're a
Yeah.
gambler or anything like that, and just picked up on just low scoring games, and it's just the year of the defenses. You look at the best team in the league that's been dominant the past 5 years. Their offense hasn't been carrying them. It's been their freaking defense. And we look at the Browns, who've people a lot compared to the 0-1 Ravens, the 85 Bears. Like this is a defense that just has stomped on the scene. The Ravens defenses this year has been incredible. Like it's been the year of the defenses. Saints defense has been great. It's been a crazy year of that, and we've seen the QB play gone down to your point to the quarterback injuries. And it's also a large part too of like wideouts also kind of getting banged up too, and inconsistency there. But it's a weird year. And hey, Cole McCoy's still out there. And can someone please trade for Jameis Winston? Because I want that guy on the field.
All right. Hey, here's something interesting. The Commanders said this week, depending on what happens against Philadelphia, we'll tell you if we're buyers or we're sellers or what happens here. Well, they lose. Okay. Actually, the game was closer than I think a lot of people thought, but they ended up losing. So, Mario, with your Indiana ties, Scary Terry, is he gone? Does he get a chance to play for a contender? Because by the time we do the show, Scary Terry might not be on the Commanders, might not be. Jonathan Allen might be gone. Chase Young might be gone. There's some names of people. Derrick Henry, even though the Titans said, hey, we aren't trading you. What do you think they're going to say to Derrick Henry? Yeah, we're trading you, but give us your best against Atlanta. They're not going to sit there and do that. Or DeAndre Hopkins. You think DeAndre Hopkins all of a sudden didn't show the rest of the NFL he can still play from his performance? There are names that should be moved. And I understand that, tomorrow when you turn on your television, when you wake up in the morning, that all you're going to see is Cowboys and Rams because that's what the national media does. Look, the Rams, outside of their defensive line, and that's because of Aaron Donald, dude, they stink, man. Their defense is absolutely terrible. I mean, like terrible. Like everyone's 2 steps behind where they should be if you're going to be an NFL player. And you're going, okay, there are names that people will know that will probably leave, but I bring up Scary Terry for a reason on the Commanders. He's a legit wide receiver that can help an NFL team make it to the playoffs or help them advance. If you're already a playoff team, help them advance possibly to an AFC or NFC championship game. Do you guys expect big moves by the time we come back on Tuesday?
Yeah, I do. And I said it in the last show about the Chargers. If you're not going to contend for a Super Bowl, why would you not trade away the pieces that are valuable? They're talking about the Commanders, trading away Chase Young and Montez Sweat for a 2nd-round pick. Why would you not do that? Like, if you can get Scary Terry for like a 2nd-round pick, why would you not just accumulate picks? I mean, you're not going to win. I mean, the Commanders are so far away from even contending for anything. Why wouldn't you just get rid of these guys? Same with the Titans. Get rid of Derrick Henry. Get rid of DeAndre Hopkins. Get some picks. Get ready for the future. Would you agree, Mario?
I would agree. I think Chase Young and Sweat are already out the door. I think those guys are gone. I think there's just no ifs, ands, buts about it. I think those guys are gone. Scary Terry, I know he just signed an extension not too long ago, so I think he stays for a little bit. And I think they're going to take a little room temperature around the league of every time someone trades away a wideout, it doesn't really work out for him. That's like a true number one. Shout if you hear me, Panther fans and Titans fans with AJ Brown and DJ Moore. So I think he will probably stay put, but I think Chase Young is good as gone. And who makes that move? That's going to be interesting because, we mentioned we love Chargers too. Why wouldn't you do it if you're the Chiefs, right? Like that's a contender. Why wouldn't you do it if you're the Bills?
What about Jacksonville?
Cincinnati. Why not a little extra boost? Hell, freaking Baltimore. Why not an extra boost?
Any team. Let's be honest.
Any team.
There's no team that's going to say we're good on the defense. Like you could always add people. Yeah, why not?
And wouldn't it be more than likely an AFC team? I know people were like rumoring the Bears with Young, but it would probably be AFC because you don't face them.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, and I know we've gone a little bit long, but my last question for you guys. Are you guys like me where you start watching, like hoping all these AFC teams start losing because you're going, man, the Chargers are going to need this? Like I keep thinking down the line, we're going to need this team to lose. So like I'm already watching NFL games, already picking, like I'm rooting hard for, and games I really wouldn't care unless I was gambling or fantasy football, that I'm rooting for certain teams to lose on a regular basis. Are you guys to that point too?
Yeah, I would say I usually wait till the end of October where we're at right now to start looking at the AFC and start thinking, I really want the Ravens, the Jaguars, some of these teams to lose. So I think we're about
Yeah.
at that time of the season where you root against other teams.
Like I'm watching Seattle and Cleveland today. I'm going, come on, Seattle. Like I'm
Yeah.
watching that game,
Yeah.
pushing hard for Seattle, that kind of deal.
100%. Yeah, you have to if
all
you're a
right.
Charger fan.
To your point, then that this Jets game, that's means that much more.
It does. I mean, I was rooting
Yeah.
for the Giants because I was like, we need this.
Yeah.
Like it was ridiculous. I'm like, this is the worst 3 hours of my life. And I'm going, we need the Giants to pull this out. And of course they didn't. But you know what I'm saying? I'm thinking anything that helps the Chargers out, I find myself already there. Like I don't feel like they're in control of their own destiny because you have the Chiefs in the division.
Also, quick shout out to the guy that I heard on TV today that said the Jets really struggle on the road. Talking about the game. Shout out to that guy.
There you go.
Groundbreaking.
There you go. All right. We'll be back in a couple days. We'll start getting ready for the next Monday Night Football game again. Jets and Chargers the next game. But hey, most importantly, Chargers will get a win, and it feels good to talk about a win. And it was an impressive win. 30-13 over the Chicago Bears. Finally, a blowout game for the Chargers. We'll see where the injuries stack up by the time the next show comes around. Also, we'll have an idea of which players the NFL have moved and how that affects the Chargers as well. So for Mario Heron and Josh Pele, I'm Dave Pele. Thanks again for watching on YouTube. Please leave comments. I understand it takes a month for swelling in the knee to go down for Mike Williams. Hey, I never said I was a surgeon. Okay?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just like, dude, just get it done so we can get you back sooner. That's all I know. All right? My head was in a good place. Sorry, we didn't know. I watched General Hospital for years. I didn't learn a damn thing. Sorry.
Someone was asking for your address, and I said,
Yeah.
here
fine.
it is.
They haven't covered it in Grey's Anatomy yet. Well, okay, as soon as I figure it out, I'll get the right medical opinion. I apologize. Good God. Everybody relax. Calm down. Chargers win. Let's all celebrate tonight, all right? Jeez Louise. Thanks again. Leave more comments on YouTube. If you listen on the Odyssey app, we appreciate that as well, the Bolt City podcast, but we'll talk to you in a couple days.
Not your doctors.